Hello everyone. Hi Bliss Design magazine colleagues of mine, amazing women. Denisa here, the curator of this beautiful group. Thank you so much for being here for so many years with me. I launched the Bliss Design magazine group 2 years ago, and it's been an amazing journey. We were very active for a while, then we went a bit quiet, and then we got active again, quiet again. But this time, I'm here to stay. So if you're here to stay with me, then we are going to make a massive difference in our lives and in the lives of the people we love and the lives of the people we are meant to touch. My name is Denisa. As many of you know, my expertise before this particular journey was in anti-aging and regenerative medicine. I ran a beautiful boutique clinical practice in Hawaii, and essentially my focus was in cutting edge medicine for women mainly. 90% of my clients were always women, even my corporate coaching clients that I had for many, many years. I've worked with thousands of women, and I've really worked in the area of women's frequency, in the area of women's physiology and metabolism, in the area of women's sexuality, and in the area of purpose, desires, legacy, our businesses, what to create. I'm a designer. I love branding. I love teasing out what is it about this woman that is so, what is her flavor? What is that essence? What is that message that she's meant to create? To me, that is a form of medicine. That is such good quality healthy stuff. When a woman becomes aligned, her entire physiology starts to fall into place. Her sexuality starts to wake up. You've been in times when you're not aligned, you're doing the, grind. Were you sexually alive? Most likely not, unless you had a partner that would wake that up in you. But yourself, that libido is directly linked to your soul source connection to source and your cosmic signature, whether you are actually communicating it in the world. So welcome. Bliss Design is a movement for global, high-achieving, future conscious, loving women, basically that are here to step to the next level of feminine high performance and show up for the world, open up, and be here as a benevolent source for the world. And when we do that, we become healthy. And we become radiant and sexually alive, and our erotic soul is really nourished, and the erotic soul in turn nourishes us. Yeah, so it's a beautiful feedback loop, and that's what we're creating here. High level ignition. Yeah. Okay, my loves. So today, what I'm actually doing in this masterclass is doing a run through some of my ideas of a webinar I'm creating, kind of the signature webinar for Bliss Design. And I'm creating this webinar because I believe that this movement is so important for women in the world. What the Bliss Design message is for women is critical for the next level of our thriving and for the thriving of the planet. I know that's a big statement, but I have a super strong belief that what is being created here is kind of the most genuine metaphysics for the woman on this planet. And as a result, this message needs to reach women at a much, much, much larger scale. And as a result, I am diving into creating marketing structures and really beautiful, elegant, sophisticated, genuine funnels, marketing funnels that will begin to reach women that haven't even heard of this movement ever, or will start to, breathe life into what we're creating. So, as a part of that, I'm creating a signature webinar. And it's a part of really reaching the world so that our message here in the Bliss Design movement reaches as many women as possible. It's that critical. It's critical for our frequency, for our evolution, for the body of the woman, for the sexuality of the woman, for the legacies that women are creating. And it is beautiful, benevolent, erotic, gorgeous, lit up, sexy, and that's what we're creating. So today in this masterclass, I wanted to really be a kind of a run through of the ideas because I'm recording this webinar tomorrow. So I thought, let me share these ideas ahead of time by my girls. Let me run it by my girls and see what they think. Okay, so please give me any of your feedback, any comments. I will try to make it super short. I'm going to shoot for going through this in about 20 minutes. The webinar will be around a 30 to 40 minute webinar because I will go into a lot more details. And of course, it'll be structured psychologically so that people who don't know about the message of Bliss Design can really, follow and not get confused. And the importance is to be clear, not clever. So making complicated concepts, kind of esoteric concepts like bliss and ecstasis and the erotic soul, kind of really palatable and really relatable. It's about connecting. It's about reaching each other and looking each other in the eyes and saying, do you get what I'm saying? Like, can you feel this in you? Can you recognize? Do you remember this? And that's my approach. That's kind of how I'm approaching, because my stance is that all of us, all of the women on the planet, know deep inside what we're talking about in this movement. Whether they remember it is the question. Whether they've cultivated it, whether they've let it seep through the dark, heavy veils of illusion that we live with just to survive, just to feed our families, whether we remember. And I think more and more and more and more women are remembering. And it's really exciting to watch. And I'm so thrilled to be on this journey. I wouldn't want to do anything else. And I could do a lot of things, and so could you. So once we find our signature flavor, our signature message, that which we must speak it. And so thank you for being here. I'm here to nourish the highest frequencies of your life, to help you remember them, to help you cultivate them, to nourish them so that you can really shine and thrive and have the courage and the energy to make things happen. Okay, so let's dive in. The name of this masterclass is the 3 Bliss Designed, the essential shifts for inner glow and radiant success. Now, I'm naming the webinar this way because it is kind of a very palatable, easy title to start with. And of course, once the parlance of Bliss Designed and erotic soul becomes more kind of understood and women are getting it and it's easy concept to follow, then I will of course dive in saying, activating your erotic soul and encoding it into your DNA and into your work in the world. That's what we're doing. We're waking up. We're like, activating your pulse, your true life heartbeat. Yeah. Great. So I would like to talk about the 3 shifts that I have found that are critical on this journey. The end point of the journey is to be vibrating at a frequency of feminine high performance, where if anything comes at you, anything at all, because a lot does, and it will. And the more you evolve, the more you expand, the more prosperity comes in, the more complex your business becomes, the more will come at you. Can you keep your erotic center? Can you keep your bliss? Can you drop in and get really excited and be in awe and in a state of blessedness and switched on and be in a love relationship, in an erotically charged relationship with your work in the world? That's the question. That's the gauge that we're going by. Can we do that? Can we not fall back into the mud, into the stagnant, into the spleen qi deficiency in Chinese medicine parlance, which means depletion, hormonal depletion, adrenal, thyroid, mitochondrial depletion? Can we not fall back into that? Can we create strategies? Can we create shifts that will remain us at a high level of bliss designed, erotically charged aliveness? And can we tailor this into how we create our products in the world, our services, our message, how we communicate it? Are we going to communicate it in the, Tim Ferriss mindset, subconscious restructuring parlance? Or are we going to really step it up a notch and actually infuse our feminine womb soul into the language? That's what we're after here, okay? All right, loves. So let me just pop in. Okay, great. So we're diving into, for the next 20 minutes, we're diving into the 3 shifts for your inner glow and radiant success. Inner glow and radiant success. Radiant glow. Okay, so essentially this is my intention for this webinar is to help you activate high-grade frequencies so that you can keep nourishing your inner glow and switching on radiance in your success. And this is essentially for women, because that is the movement of the Bliss Design Woman. And this is for women that are designing their lives for significance, for impact, and they do value the bliss. They value that there is something greater. They have this hunger for kind of energetic awakening. They know that they've been living sort of surviving or living kind of superficial, or when they sit down for meditation, that they follow the dropping into the consciousness and the kundalini, but now they're kind of thinking, there's more, there's some kind of an electric juice that I want to add to this. So this is for women that are awakening. They are taking all of their mindset work, and they've done a lot of mindset work, a lot of body work around subconscious restructuring, reprogramming. They get that the stories that they are cycling in their minds are created from the subconscious archives, essentially, and this is already in their consciousness, but now they're kind of starting to smell a flavor of something juicier, something more. There's a touch of yearning for a tantric perspective, per se, on life in general, okay? So they're awakening to kind of the magical and deeply playful side of the universe. They don't want to do it in the Tim Ferriss classic style, which is very powerful, but it's very masculine and very kind of chop, chop, chop to the point. And we are kind of like, yeah, I get it, but I'm listening between the lines and I'm not getting the juice and the flavor and the sexy and the erotic and the live. And I want to hear that, right? So this is for women who are ready. They are listening for the magical. They're listening for the juicy, the electrical, that kind of a energy that's electric and alive. Between the lines of all the coaches, they're listening for, oh, is she? I listen for that all the time. And anyone who spends more than 5 minutes not adding in the juice, I wish them well and I move on, because I just can't get to the next level without it myself. My awakening came when I realized that I was living a fully professional life. I was showing up for my patients and my clients. I had the strategies. I had the classic, 10-step of transformation laid out. It was very, very smart and very, very benevolent, but I wasn't adding in my true core flavor of what I knew is actually what moves me is when I am ignited to the magical, to the mystical, to the poetic, to the juicy, to the erotic. There is this attraction to knowledge and transformation that I have that is very, very polarity based. Yeah. And I listen out for that, and I always did. And once I realized that this is actually what the flavor of my work is, I just had to accept it and dive in. And once I did, I realized this is so essential for every woman. We all remember moments of bliss from our childhood, from our adolescence, from our adulthood. We all remember moments of kind of erotic awakening in our adolescence, falling in love, being in love. That energy is super fuel, right? You remember how much you could get done when you were in love, when you were lit up with the magical, with the mystical, with the poetic side of life. So that is what we're getting at. That's where we're getting at. And the one thing I want to make in this masterclass, the signature masterclass, the one promise I want to make is by the end of that class, women will remember their true super fuel, their true ignition force to move, to create, to do actually what they really want to do, how to get out of our stagnant places. I want to help women remember what that ignition source is, what that fire source is. So that is the promise that I would love to make in this webinar, in this masterclass for women. So in these, let's say 15 more minutes, what I really would love to touch on is kind of what is that pain point for us women. When we're creating any type of lecture and so on, it's really key to really connect at the level of our pain. Don't you think? That's where we meet. And we meet at the level of our pain because it's really healing, it's really normalizing, it's really neutralizing. So basically the pain that we have as women here in this movement that I've come to learn about women, and I've I've worked with thousands of women, and I am a woman, and I've been through hell and back 10 times over, right? That essentially we're yearning to be alive at the deep core, but we're also really devoted and dedicated to the people we love. We're devoted and dedicated to our responsibilities, to what we've created. We don't want to just drop everything just at the whim. Yeah, especially Gen X women. We've invested a lot in, education, in diplomas and degrees and professional designations and promotions, and by the end of the day, we are locked in to that design, and we tend to find ourselves in very, very dry land places, life-wise. Our relationships tend to dry up. Our excitement, our ignition, our fire tends to kind of die down. And of course, it's very natural. Not only physiologically, we're depleted, our adrenals, our thyroid, our progesterone levels are shot, the mitochondria are not working properly as they should. We eat on the run, we sit in traffic. I mean, it's just all normal that we tend to end up sitting in very stagnant, energetic places. So the first thing is to see it as it is and forgive ourselves. There's nothing worse than the collective shame that we all carry as humanity, because we know we could do better, right? We all know, and we genuinely inside our heart wish we could do better for our loved ones, for society, for the immigrant children. I mean, don't you wish you could just snap your finger and make something magic happen so that they can be with their moms? We know we could do better, but we're locked into structures and lives that are very complex, and we can't just easily get up and go, and most of the time we don't have the finances to do that anyway. So that creates this kind of bound collective shame in human collective consciousness, and that really spirals us downward. So the pain point is clear. We are kind, we are goodness, we are benevolent. Our intentions are really essentially quite good. But we're locked in the 3D structure of the body, 3D structure of the society. We are moving into 4D through our love and 5D through our consciousness, but we are still very, very limited in an evolutionary capacity of what we can do per day. So, my loves, I just want to connect with you, really genuinely around this whole concept of, our pain is similar. We all have it. At 3 a.m., when I wake up, I bet I have the same stories that you do. No matter how much money is in my bank versus yours, it doesn't matter. The stories are the same. The pain points are the same. And through this movement, what I want to really say that those are just symptoms of the main problem. They're not the problem. They're the symptoms of us being disconnected from our most powerful feminine frequency of bliss and the erotic soul. And this is what this movement is about, is waking up that which will lift this pain, even in the middle of 3 a.m. when all our demons wake up. So that is what the true problem is, that we're not using these frequencies to help really lift us out of the mud. And by the end of this masterclass, I would like to give you just the 3 shifts that really need to happen so that we begin to do that and we begin to cultivate that. And it's an everyday process. So let's dive into these 3 shifts. What I have found is that there are 3 shifts that a woman needs to make and cultivate if she wants to live with an inner glow and designed for radiant success in her life. What that means is to be glowing, to be lit up and alive and switched on, and to be able to create that impact in the world, to create that significant shift for others in the world. We all, at some level, yearn to do that. So let's dive into shift number 1. The basis of all of this is your sovereignty. The first shift to make to begin this journey towards this bliss designed life, this bliss designed success, the bliss designed CEO you're meant to become, is your sovereignty. Your sovereignty is at the core of everything. What I mean by sovereignty is your self-authority, your self-autonomy, realizing that you are not the victim of this incarnation. We, as humanity, are shifting from victim consciousness to freedom consciousness. And this is what this is about, is to really activate your freedom consciousness, to realize that as a human being, you are incarnating in this body. Yes, you are in a certain situation in your life right now that may not be ideal, but has happened because of a lot of the seeds that were planted from our ignorance in the past. We didn't know better, and that's okay. This is about evolution. This is about us growing and realizing and unveiling. So, but from this moment on, what I would love to ignite in us is a true frequency of sovereignty, self-authority, self-autonomy, that you are the designer of your life from here on, and to be waking that up on a daily basis. That's the key. So without the sovereignty, without the sense of I am free, I have free will to make the choices that I need to. Without that, we are not able to lock in that inner glow. It may be temporary, but you won't be able to lock it in. So the first shift that has to happen is a shift toward self-sovereignty, self-autonomy, self-authority, realizing that it's in my hands, I have free will, I do. I was given at least one gift from this incarnation, is my free will. And that's a beautiful shift, and it's a excruciatingly painful shift to make, because we're so comfortable in the master-slave matrix model. We're used to being in that place as humanity. So it's a very courageous shift to make, and this is what I help women to do the first thing. In any course or in any coaching program that I've created, we begin with really setting sovereignty into your DNA. And that comes with a lot of responsibility. And the little girl in us has a hard time with that. I did. Especially if you've been carrying a massive burden on your shoulders for a long time. Like I felt like I was the breadwinner for most of my life. I wasn't nourished powerfully in a passionate way. Yes, I had a massive burden on my shoulders, and I had a big little girl complex. Yeah, and rightfully so. So we will, in this particular shift, we really begin to shift the little girl and drop her into her goddess, feminine, priestess, earthist power, right? So that responsibility that comes with sovereignty, when you realize you're responsible for all your choices, for everything, there's no one to blame anymore. Blame just kind of drops off the face of the earth, and you look at blame as something kind of unevolved afterwards. that responsibility requires a really powerful, powerful grace of the adult to drop into your womb. And that's what we work with in this shift. And it's a very exciting shift. When it happens, it changes everything and drops you into fearless timelines like that. And it's the most liberating thing on the planet. And that's essentially what liberation is. It's the mukti, it's the liberation, it is the unveiling of the Maya, the veil, and going forth as an incarnated sovereign being, sovereign woman. Now that responsibility can feel really heavy sometimes. So the second shift that I really stress and talk about in the Bliss Designed movement is the shift of deep, radical self-love, an adoration, a reverence of the being that you got to be in this incarnation. Even if that being doesn't feel perfect, or if that body doesn't feel like, oh, this is not the body I'm meant to have, to really instill a reverence, a gratitude, a blessedness, a self-love that is so deep and unshakable that no matter what comes at you, you are adored. You are, in that state, in that shift, you become adored. Not even loved anymore. Adored. Period. So the second shift is all about that adoration, that powerful, radical self-love that is so deeply settled in your womb that nothing can shake it. It's indestructible. Nothing can shake your sense of worth again beyond that. So we touched on the first shift, the shift of self-liberation and sovereignty. The second shift, the shift to self-love and deep adoration and a reverence for your being. And of course, the third shift is waking the really refined, high-frequency, feminine power frequencies of bliss and the erotic soul. Actively waking these up. Our grandmothers were happy when they were content. Our mothers were happy when they were happy. We grew up with kind of going for joy, so we're evolving the level of liberation and the level of happiness, from contentment to happiness to joy. And now we're moving, because with liberation and with a deep adoration comes a natural instinct, wakes up for bliss. Yeah? And bliss is that all-encompassing, north of happiness frequency. For no reason, you begin to see heaven on earth. You begin to see heaven on earth. Today I walked on the beach. Today I walked on the beach, and I walked and I looked down at the sand, and it was glowing. It was radiant. It was sparkling before bliss. Are we still together? I'm getting calls. Okay, we're here together. Great. If you have any comments about any of this, please leave me a message below or PM me personally, because I would love your feedback. We are creating this together, and more I will be asking for your feedback, for your experience, so that we can absolutely co-create this together. So we've got three shifts. The shift of powerful liberation and sovereignty. The second shift of powerful, deep adoration and radical self-love. And the third shift is activating the truly highly refined feminine frequencies that create the most beautiful inner glow for the woman. The frequency of bliss and the erotic soul in her. And that is, I believe, the 3 shifts that start to change everything for us as women. And that is the 3 shifts that, when I've made them, have started to bring for real heaven on earth, period. And that is true medicine for the woman, in my experience. So, my loves, my intention in this masterclass, and I will record the webinar with beautiful slides and all tomorrow with my team, and this will become the signature webinar masterclass for Bliss Designed for a while. But my intention in this is to help us remember the high frequencies, help us remember what we're designing for and what to spend our time listening to, what to spend our time being inspired by, and how to cultivate the next level of our feminine performance. It's not about doing, it's not about following Tim Ferriss rules or the classic mindset strategies. No, we're looking for a magical, mystical, electrical, radiant, glowing, blissful future. That's what we're designing for in this particular movement. If it speaks to you, amazing. If you're not ready for that, at least begin to notice moments of peak for you, moments of bliss, moments of ecstasis, and start to listen to your erotic language. Start to listen to your poetic, mystical, Rumi-ish type of language, and see how it makes you feel. Because when you begin to flow with these frequencies, life just ends up being so enchanting and so fun that what you're creating never feels like work. Absolutely not. There is no more work from that place. You work no more. And you actually are just beginning to live heaven on earth. And that's what all of the scriptures talk about. Whatever religion you want to touch on, in the end, that's the end point of every religion, is the liberation, the bliss, blessedness. Yeah, that's a Christian term, blessedness, mukti, the liberation. And the ancient goddesses, the Ishtar and Isis and Gaia and Mary Magdalene, Aphrodite, all of those told us really the true feminine power is in the womb. It's in the creative power of the woman. And the erotic, Plato said, is not the attraction for the beloved. It's the attraction and yearning and recognition of the beauty in the other. And that's a remembrance of our infinity. And that's what they talk about. The people who have nearly died and come back to life, the NDE folks, they tell us what's beyond the veil of life is bliss. It's just so beautiful and pure and blissful and quiet and just, yeah, listen to that, because that's what we're trying to remember, because we've been there before. We've lived and died and lived and died. You know, the frequencies we remember. So, my loves, that is the flavor of the masterclass that's coming. It'll come as a webinar. It will be really put into beautiful, elegant, sophisticated, organic funnels, so that Bliss Design does begin to have a true pulse in the world. And our movement here, and you are all founding members, so I'm so thankful for your presence with me over the years. We are just getting started, and here is to a very, very, very long life ahead together. And I know we will meet in person because we will run such gorgeous Bliss Design retreats that you will absolutely be invited to those as my beautiful founding loving members. Thank you so much for listening. Please send me any questions, any comments. If you came here for the replay, let me know you're here for the replay and write me any of your questions or comments. Much love to you, and see you in here in the group every day. Love you. Bye.